Absolutely.
That work?
Yep, sure. You want me to? All right, good. So yeah, no, the census is incredibly, incredibly important. The funding that we really rely on for the census is stuff related to healthcare, infrastructure, education, and of course, if our community is undercounted, we will lose a significant amount of funding, that we rely on the federal government. And so, one of the reasons why, especially like during this period of COVID. And I know, look, if you have a family member that has been impacted by COVID, I understand that's, census is probably not the priority right now. But if you don't, we were strongly encouraging, those that Senator Savino, we're strongly encouraging those that have already filled out the census to please, continue to do more outreach to folks that are in your community, in your phone book, to spread the word because it is significantly important, especially in a time where folks are wondering, what could I do to give back to my community, to help my community, and filling out the census is one effort in the right direction.
We understand the first census was taken in 1790, and that was 230 years ago. And every 10 years, the census is taken. And this is the first census with an option to respond online, by mail, or by phone.
Correct. Yeah.
So we're asking also, what resources are you utilizing to get the word out about the importance of completing the census questionnaire?
Absolutely. Well, so one, we did put money in the state budget to increase the outreach efforts. And again, because of COVID, we had to get a little strategic with how we do it now. So, for instance, every time I'm doing a PPE giveaway, personal protective equipment giveaway, we're making sure folks have a census literature. For serving out hot meals, we're making sure folks have census material. The event that we had yesterday. Yes, the importance, what the main purpose of that event was focused on reform and also addressing the racial inequalities that we have in our country. But of course, we emphasize the census. We're getting it out through email. We're doing what's his name, robocalls and mailers. So and again, you could only do so much, but I think that the best way to kind of get the word out is through word of mouth and to also again, text 10 to 15 people in your phone book, that may not be aware of the census, or if they are aware of the census, this is an opportunity to remind them of it.
Senator Savino, can you hear us? Can we hear you now?
I think her sound may be connected to headphones, and that's why we can't hear her. I'm not sure, but we still don't get any, we're not getting any sound, unfortunately.
Okay, so tag your it, Assembly Member Charles, until everyone else comes on. As far as COVID, I just want to say, first, we would like to say, our hearts go out to the family of George Floyd.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
No, I'm Debbie Rose.
Hi, Debbie.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back. Let me just first do this part. First, we would like to let everyone know that our hearts go out to the family of George Floyd. Condolences and prayers to the families who have lost loved ones during this horrific pandemic. And now I could just go back and introduce our city council member as well as our state senator. State Senator Diane Savino, would you like to introduce yourself and what areas you cover? Can't hear her again. Council Member Rose.
Yes. Yes. Would you like me to introduce myself?
Introduce yourself.
Okay. So I'm Council Member Debbie Rose. I represent the 49th District, which covers the North Shore, which is the best shore of Staten Island. I have 174,000 constituents, which I love. And anything else you want me to say? I've represented them for 11 years now.
Thank you. So we asked Assemblymember Fall about the census and how does the census impact our communities on your level of government funding?
So, in terms of my level of government funding, the city was given a budget, and I know you know that the mayor actually appointed Julie Menon to oversee the entire New York City operation. Um, as part of the city council, we have a committee of council members who have made sure that every community, especially communities of color, are being represented in terms of getting the census completed, the census data completed. And so understanding that there's an intersectionality with the census, with voting, criminality, criminal justice reform, and the pandemic, we've put a lot of resources into making sure that we get an adequate count. In my district, so far 51%, we have a 51% census return rate. There's 2% of the Black population in the United States was counted in the last census. That means that we are woefully underfunded in the very communities that are vulnerable and sees the biggest disparities. And one of the reasons why is because our communities have traditionally been undercounted.
So what resources are you utilizing to get the word out about the importance of completing the census questionnaire?
Okay, so I think that people are finally getting tired of me because on my Facebook pages, all three of them, and any social media that I have, we've been highlighting how important it is to fill out the census. We've even linked it to the coronavirus pandemic, where we're telling people to wear a mask and stay safe, shelter safely. And we're encouraging them to fill out their census while they're staying safe at home. Every event that we attend, we have census information. I send out an e-blast every Friday where the census is prominently highlighted and the need for them to fill it out. We also have, I'm trying to remember, wait, I wrote it down, but anyway, so every and anytime that we're giving out masks and hand sanitizers, and we are giving out census information is included in those packages. So every opportunity we get, we utilize that. We make people aware of the importance of the census. And what I'm doing personally is I'm the chair of the youth committee. And as you know,
Yeah, you ever use Cisco WebEx systems?
Yes.
Now,
We can hear you, Diane.
How are you? Gotta go. Now you can hear me. I was calling my staff member who's a technology expert. So like, can you figure this out for me?
We got you.
Be quiet now. Thanks. Sorry, Debbie.
That's okay, Diane. This is the last point about what we're doing. As the chair of the youth committee, I'm sure everyone knows that SYEP was zeroed out of the budget. And what I'm working now is to find different funding streams. And so I'm talking with the commissioner who's handling the SYEP and asking her to target specific slots for young people to work in call centers to get out, to get people to fill out the census.
Thank you. Senator Savino, you with us?
Finally, I've been here. Nobody could hear me. And as you know, for someone who likes to talk a lot, it was very frustrating that nobody could hear me.
Introduce yourself.
So I am Senator Diane Savino. Thank you, Michelle, for inviting me to participate. And of course, to the ladies of Delta, thanks for hosting this.
I want to follow up on the work that both Charles talked about, and of course, Councilwoman Debbie Rose, that, we started this year knowing how important the census was going to be, that we were already on the verge of potentially losing one, if not two, congressional seats because of the loss of population in New York State. We were anticipating that. None of us could have anticipated COVID and the devastation it would have wreaked on all of us. And then when we did the budget, it was in the middle of the shutdown. We were recognizing that the state was going to have to institute this pause, whatever, I forgot what pause stands for. It's another anagram. But we wanted to make sure that there was money set aside for the census for community-based organizations because it was so important. Not realizing that even for those organizations, either drawing down the money or being able to utilize the money was going to become incredibly difficult because of the restrictions placed on people's, just the ability to meet and talk to people. You can't go door knocking, you can't do outreach, you can't do all the traditional things that you do in the census. I remember in 2000, I participated in the census working for the union. We would go out there into the community and we would partner with people and we would have tables at, major thoroughfares and get people to do it. In 2010, as a member of the legislature, doing it. But now you can't have any of those interactions. And what we're seeing is, in spite of people's best efforts, we are not meeting the threshold for the census. Brooklyn is at a very low rate. I think they were at like 40 some odd percent the last count of Brooklynites returning the census. We've tried to make it as easy as possible. I'm not sure what the numbers are in Staten Island. Councilwoman, she may have a better sense of that. But
Yeah.
there's a real danger to not getting people to fill out the census because we've lost population. So we know that's a threat. But at the same time, if you watch this process that's been happening in Washington, where members of Congress are fighting amongst each other to figure out how we can get resources to the states, there's been a lot of animosity from the red state, blue state, and it really shouldn't be that way, but it is that way, where they're saying, New York, we're not going to give those blue states extra money. So if we have that fight, where we may not get what we need from Washington to help us with state and local government issues right now, and then we don't have an accurate head count for the census, and we lose congressional representation, it will be that much harder to get what we're entitled to. New York sends more to Washington than we ever get back. We send more than most states do. And if we don't have the right representation in Washington, and because we've lost it because of the census, it'll be even harder for us. I know the councilwoman talked about the challenges the city's facing on their budget. We're all in that mess right now. We're looking at $12 billion, a $12 billion deficit. And some of that is because unemployment is at an incredibly high rate right now. We don't know what's going to come back. We don't know what money we're going to be able to collect in July when people finally start paying their income tax. We're not collecting sales tax. Houses are not moving, which means we're not collecting mortgage recording tax. We're not collecting all of the things that go along with the real estate market. We're not collecting. So we need to make sure we count every head because we cannot afford to lose a single fighter in Washington for the state of New York.
Thank you. Also, we know that because of COVID-19, as you stated, and coronavirus, New York is the epicenter. Almost 10,000 cases of COVID-19. The unemployment and the racial disparities in the healthcare, the essential workers are hardest hit. And the pandemic has shook our world as we know it, and we have to adapt to our new normal. We all represent communities of color. What have we learned from COVID-19 and how will we recover from it? Charles Fall? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we learned was that, we need to be better prepared for a pandemic. And we were not prepared for something like this. And I think also when things are happening across the country, overseas, I think we could do a better job as a state to better identify that, even though that's like what the federal government should be doing to, make sure that, our population is protected. I know there were measures put in place to ensure that hospitals have at least, I think it's either 60 to 90 days worth of PPE equipment moving forward, so we don't have the same amount of shortage that they've had when the pandemic hit. And I think it also highlighted too the importance of too, like making sure that our hospitals have the resources too, right? Because I know there was like a number of challenges that we saw here on Staten Island, especially since we don't have a public hospital. A lot of challenges that our hospitals were going through. So I think those are like, some of the points. I don't know if it's a senator or council member, want to add, but that's.
Yes. The pandemic just exacerbated and just highlighted the centuries-old disparities that have already existed. They've always existed, and the pandemic just really exacerbated the fact that the communities of color live in the housing situation is optimal for the spread of the virus. That we live in densely populated communities. The virus proved that what we knew about the medical disparities, and I was really impacted by the fact that when I was trying to get resources for Staten Island and the North Shore specifically, we were not able to get those things. The testing was not, there were no testing available, sites available in the North Shore until May. And the only testing site that was available was on the other side of Staten Island, and you had to have a car, which definitely impacted people's ability to access testing. We had a regional educational center that was open for the essential workers and frontline workers. And there were 4 originally on Staten Island. And within 4 days, they closed the regional educational center in the North Shore, leaving, once again, the communities where most of the essential workers was coming from without that resource. And that resource was a structured, supported environment where they could leave their children while they went to work. And so their only option was to either make other arrangements or to take their children over to the other side of Staten Island to get that service. I can go on and on about it. The fact that, Rumsey was having a really hard time securing PPEs. And what I found with, I was on the phone every day with the mayor's office, and they totally discounted Staten Island because their focus was on health and hospital facilities. And in the absence of a health and hospital here, we were so far down in the queue to get the supplies that we needed that that our communities here on Staten Island really suffered disproportionately again. And so there were a lot of disparities that sort of were intensified during the pandemic. And what we do about it? Well, like I said, I was on the phone every day with some city official trying to get what we needed, the resources we needed. We had the Black and Latino and Asian caucus were the ones who brought to the mayor's attention that not only were we not getting the resources that we needed, but that we were suffering disproportionately, and made him take a real look at the real numbers. And we started that whole movement to where the focus shifted from just H&H facilities getting help to, communities of color getting the resources that they needed. And therefore we saw the opening of testing centers in our communities, and the amount of PPEs became much more readily available, and testing sites. So that's how it had impacted at least the communities of color here on Staten Island.
Diane Savino.
Debbie was saying, and Charles, I think one of the most frustrating things for all of us was, normally we've been through crises before. We've lived through, I know Debbie and I have lived through 9/11 and its aftermath. We lived through the crisis of the financial collapse in 2008 and the effect it had, Hurricane Sandy, and all of this. And I would say they all occurred on a single day, and then we spent weeks or months trying to either clean up, figure out how to solve a problem, or etc. This never ends. It went on and on and on, and the crisis was constantly happening. I think what was frustrating for us who represent Staten Island, and they can attest to this, we would be on a thread every day, all 11 of us who are elected representatives, trying to solve problems, reporting information back in, from the borough president on down to, Joe Borelli, the youngest council member. How do we solve problems that affect Staten Island? What complicated it for us, I think, was twofold. One, the state operating in one direction and the city in another, often at cross purposes. The inability to get answers to questions about, well, how do you get supplies and PPE and where does it go? Getting requests from nursing homes. The fact that we don't have a public hospital, I know it was a bone of contention among many of us with the mayor, as he would announce that they were going to provide resources to the HHC. We don't have an HHC. And so that left Staten Island out. When we got additional resources from, I think it was the military hospitals, we got nothing because we don't have an HHC. And then what we were seeing is Staten Island is the home to a very large number of public servants. Whether you're a teacher, a cop, a firefighter, an EMT, a paramedic, a social worker, we have a lot of them here on Staten Island. They are transit workers, bus drivers. They were essential workers. Many of them are people of color. And what we were seeing amongst the workforce was they were being exposed in this public-facing experience. They're being exposed to COVID, and the numbers of public workers who contracted it and died is a tragedy. And so we're trying to, provide answers to businesses, to answers to hospitals, to nursing homes. That was, I think, the most frustrating part. And this is not over. When this whole crisis is done, we have an obligation as government to do a deep dive into our failures and our successes, and then develop policy for the future, because something like this will happen again. We did it after Hurricane Sandy. We developed new standards for building in certain areas and how to mold remediation and a whole host of things, how to help get people help faster. We're going to have to do the same thing here. One of the things we did do, though, is in recognition of the high number of public employees who died on the job, we passed legislation to provide a line of duty death benefit for those workers and their family, so that they are people that we in government said, you are essential, you have to go to work. We expect you to show up every day and assume the risk and assume, exposure to the disease. The least we can do is make sure that their families are protected. We didn't know, however, find a way to provide for people who aren't in the public service, essential workers who work in grocery stores, or people who don't belong to a public pension system. That's another challenge. We're going to have to try and figure that out, because as a government, we said certain people had to go to work every day to keep the economy moving, or to make sure that people were protected or children were protected. And we have an obligation to all of those people. So at the end of this crisis, if it ever seems to end, we are going to have to do a really deep analysis of where government screwed up, where they performed and overperformed, what got in our way, everything from access to PPE. And we've realized now that our reliance on products coming from other countries hindered our ability to serve people. So we need to talk about manufacturing here in New York State. How do we make sure that the supply chain isn't disrupted by long distances, and make sure that, you know, when a hospital calls and says, we need equipment for our staff, it's there. We're not waiting on it to come from weeks away. And that Councilwoman Rose isn't scrambling on a phone trying to find somebody in another state who can deliver her masks. That's not the way you respond to a crisis. And I think, you know, we've learned a lot and we still have a lot to learn.
Bobby Digi has joined us. I hear that he's on the line. Our community activist, Bobby, are you there? He texted me and said he was there. All right. So
He's there. He needs to unmute himself. He may be on calling from his phone, so I don't know what number he's calling from, so he would have to unmute himself.
So Assemblymember Fall has to get ready to leave, but I just wanted to ask him this question before he leaves on legislative reform. The governor spoke about protests and policy. Is that him? Protests and policy, and how they go hand in hand, and they're two separate things. It's not like it's protest or policy or protest. And so what is the message behind the protests? We would like to see policy reforms in policing. What legislation are you or will you sponsor or co-sponsor to change existing policing in New York City?
Absolutely. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, yes. See more transparency, right? And that includes adjusting the issues we've seen with 50A, right? Where it hasn't basically allowed the records of officers that have significant misconduct to be released. That's one thing. The second thing is you know, those that call 911 are basically saying that you know, to prevent a situation from Central Park of happening again, that should be considered a hate crime. And instituting the office of the special prosecutor, right? Because we already know that there needs to be, if there is an issue between a civilian and a police officer, it should automatically be investigated by a special prosecutor, you know? So what we're seeing with those protests, I think, you know, it speaks volumes. You know, it speaks to the history of the racial injustice that we have seen in this country, the level of racism, and I think one of the positive things that we're seeing too is that you have people from different walks of life, different religions, you know, coming together saying Black Lives Matter, and we need to see change in policy sooner than later. You know, so I think the protests do speak volume, and if you saw what happened today, the youth protest on Staten Island was probably one of the best turnout in protests I've ever seen here on Staten Island. You know, and kudos to the young folks for organizing that event. You know, so yeah.
So what is it that, what legislation would you like to sponsor as far as the reform?
So basically, I sponsored the three just spoke about.
Okay.
Oh, and then I also introduced the bill. Basically, because you know, like over 50% of the arrests that have taken place due to rioting, were from people that have were from out of state. You know, so I introduced a bill that would effectively ban these folks from New York State if they were caught causing destruction to businesses, especially during a time of a pandemic, and also require that they pay a fine. So, and I also have to find a Senate sponsor. So, Diane, I'm going to talk to you about that. FYI.
All right. Debbie, Councilmember Rose.
Nearly 6 years ago, I co-sponsored a bill that would criminalize the chokehold in response to Eric Garner's murder, and at the time we couldn't get it the mayor to pass it, to sign off on it. So, and just let me be clear, the chokehold is prohibited by New York NYPD now, but it's not against the law. And so that bill would have moved to change it. And so, so now, as a result of the heightened awareness across the nation that we've seen after video where people of color have died as a result of a chokehold or strangulation, we are now in a good position to be able to pass this legislation. And so the speaker and the Black and Latino Asian caucus, and in fact, the Black, Latin, and Asian caucuses on all levels of government, national, state, and city, got together. We had a webinar, a WebinX, and we all, talked about the criminal justice reform that was necessary. What we need to do moving forward once the protests, and I'm so grateful that the protests have been at the magnitude that they are, that no one could not hear the anguish or the need for reform. So we put together a package of bills. Many of these things we can't do. They are under the jurisdiction of New York State. So where we could not actually pass a law about it, we made a resolution, and they are as follows. That NYPD would have to create clear guidelines for police discipline, giving all New Yorkers a better understanding of potential penalties for police conduct. Legislature repeal the law currently sharing police officers to the public. This is known as 50A, and we've already had conversations with our colleagues on the state level, and the governor has already committed to sign this. A resolution on Congress to pass legislation, which would be introduced by Representative Jeffries, that would make the use of a chokehold by a police officer unlawful under the federal civil rights law. And a resolution calling on the state to ban chokeholds and create the crime of strangulation in the first degree. That would criminalize the use of a chokehold when a person disregards a ban on that practice. So we're moving in a direction where we're trying to legislate transparency, which is really unfortunate. The chokehold ban is really something that I feel personally, I very personally affects me because of Eric Garner. And so with the passage of that bill, we will be able to sort of criminalize a behavior that is already in their rule books as something that is not acceptable. 50A is really important to me, again, because of Eric Garner. Daniel Pantaleo had a history of overly aggressive policing. The city had paid out several times, had paid out lawsuits because of his actions and his behavior, and only to put him back out on the street. And so 50A is really important because maybe we could prevent some officer that clearly has a depraved indifference for Black and brown lives from being on the streets. So we're supporting 50A. So
tell us what 50A is.
Oh, I'm sorry. 50A is actually a transparency bill which states that the officer's records can be made public. The officer's records of violations can be made public. Right now, they're using 50A as a reason for not telling the public, the press, or anyone what the records are of officers, the number of violations that they have. So where that would really prevent, again, like I said, that would prevent someone like a Daniel Pantaleo from being in the street and people not knowing of his past history.
Thank you. Senator Savino?
Just want to pick up where the councilwoman left off. Section 50A of the Civil Rights Law actually goes back to 1976. And there's the belief was it arose out of the Knapp Commission, which was a period of intense investigations into police corruption. And it created a civil right that said that personal and disciplinary records of police officers, firefighters, corrections officers would not be released to the public without a court order, because they were also used for the purpose of evaluation of performance and continued employment. Over the decades, though, it has been probably misapplied in many instances. And in fact, for the most part, you could get access to the disciplinary record of a peace officer, and that's under this law. So it was cops, firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, corrections officers, court officers, and there's some discussion about whether or not it applies to school safety officers. It may or may not, but in any event, the city used to release these records and redact the information and post them in the city register so that reporters could look at them and others could look at them. And then somehow or other in 2016, Mayor de Blasio and his then police commissioner decided that that was a violation of the law, and they stopped doing it, which then created the question, well, what are you hiding? Why are you doing that? You know, why aren't you allowing access to these records that you always had? And it's just gotten worse over the past few years. So there is there's almost an agreed upon bill. Charles and I will probably be returning to Albany next week to do a package of bills that talk about reform. One of them will be reforming 50A and repealing it, and then bringing these workers in under the Freedom of Information Law. So Michelle, for instance, our members in Local 371, their records are subject to FOIL. So if you have a worker who their personnel and their disciplinary records are subject to the Freedom of Information Law, someone can request them. The Freedom of Information Law officer can look at them and determine what information they can keep back. And so we would probably apply the same requirements under any reform that we do with 50A. So things like time and leave records or personal evaluations would not be subject to release. But cases of police misconduct, dishonesty, lying, assault, excessive force would all be subject to release for public view, and for district attorneys to look at, and for defense attorneys. We're pretty close on coming to an agreement on that. There are other bills that we're probably going to have an agreement on. The creation of a law enforcement inspector general. Every agency in the city and state has an inspector general. We do not have one for law enforcement. So it will create a law enforcement inspector general administered by the Attorney General's office to review practices, policies, procedures, and abuse of police agencies, which could include surveillance, protected classes, and make recommendations for changes. There is the creation of, or the codification, I should say, of the special prosecutor. In 2015, the governor created the Office of the Special Prosecutor through the Attorney General's office by executive order to examine cases of police misconduct where there was the death of a civilian involved, and that civilian was unarmed. We are gonna, there was some discussion over the years that this is should be properly handled by district attorneys because they're elected by the people, but in analysis and documentation, it makes more sense to create this office, to codify what's already in place so that you have an impartial individual looking at these cases, not someone who has a personal relationship with the police department in their jurisdiction. The STAT Act, which is called the Police Statistics and Transparency Act, it would mandate the collection and reporting of 3 streams of law enforcement data through the Office of Court Administration. They would be required to compile and publish data related to the enforcement of low-level offenses, both misdemeanors and violations. It would have to include the number of arrests, summonses, to try and take a look at, do we see a pattern of disproportionate application of the penal code in communities of color? Or are we treating everybody equally? Are we arresting people for the same violations across the spectrum? And then when that information is collected, there will be recommendations made on police training and or departmental policies. The criminalization of the chokehold that Debbie spoke about, Brian Benjamin is the sponsor of that bill. It would do exactly what the council is asking us to do. And the last, false reporting. It would establish a private right of action when a person summons a police or peace officer without reason to suspect a crime or an imminent threat to person or property, when the decision to do so was motivated in whole or in substantial part because of the person's actual or perceived race color. So we saw the situation in Central Park, where that woman called the police on, right, this would address that, and it would allow, what's his name, Christian Cooper, allow him to sue that woman for in civil court for damages. Use of weapon reporting. Hard to believe that not every police department across the state requires an officer to file a report if he discharges his weapon. New York City does, Nassau and Suffolk do, but not every department does. So this would require within 6 hours, the report of a discharge of their weapon, or verbally, and within 48 hours, they would have to file a written report to explain why they discharged their weapon. And the last one is the right to, this one is not agreed upon yet, it's still under negotiation. It would be the right to record police activity. So as you see, a lot of people take out their cell phones and they videotape what they see happening in front of them. It would allow them to not only do it, but to keep that, so that if there was a subpoena that came to them that said they had to rescind it, they wouldn't have to do that. So those are the bills that we're currently expecting to take up next week. There's always more to do, but you have to seize the moment when it comes. And I think our leader, Senator Stewart Cousins, is determined to get something done. She feels this personally. We had one of our colleagues, Senator Myrie. He was, I don't know if you guys know Zellner Myrie. He's young, dynamic, smart, and if you saw the videotape of him being arrested and pepper sprayed, it's heartbreaking.
Diana Richardson as well.
Diana too. But we want to get something done because he was able to get out of it, because once the police precinct commander realized it was him, they took the cuffs off. But if he weren't Zellner Myrie, he would be in a very different position.
Michelle,
I'm sorry, Michelle, let me cut in for one moment. I believe we have Congressman Max Rose as well as Bobby Digi. I just need to unmute to see, because they're calling in by phone. So I just want to see if this is Max Rose. Okay. Congressman, is this you?
Hello, how you doing?
Yes, hello?
Yes, hi.
Is this Congressman Rose?
It is.
Oh, great. We have Michelle, Congressman Rose.
You're a little low.
I'm a little low. Okay, can you hear me better?
Just a little bit. If you could turn up the volume on your phone, that would be good.
All right, my apologies. I'm dealing with technological difficulties and a newborn at home, but we're managing.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late.
Michelle, while the congressman comes on, I just want to mention that on Tuesday, June 9th, next week, the Public Safety Committee is going to have the hearing on the chokehold. And if anyone's interested in testifying, I can get the information to them about how to testify, but you can also submit testimony by mail, and you can watch the hearing on nyc.gov on Tuesday, and it starts at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Council Member. I just wanted to say, and we'll come back to you, Congressman Rose, to let you know the questions that we're asking. As your constituents and change agents, Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We service and understand the needs of the community. And we're hoping that with future discussions that we will be able to be at the table as well. Because things happen in our community and constituents don't know what's going on. And I think that if you had some kind of input or feedback from your constituents, that would help as well. So we really would appreciate that from the state, the Senate, from the state, the assembly, the city council, as well as the federal government. If you just can, send out some information, have us at the table, we would really feel being a part of it because as part of the discussion. So we would really appreciate that. Congressman Rose?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
All right. Well, look, I don't want to take up too much of your time with all the phenomenal speakers on this panel today, and it is not lost on me that especially when it comes to this issue, as well as the importance of the census and the vital nature of government, we all, myself included, dig deeply or drink deeply from wells we did not dig. And so it's just such an honor to be on this panel with some really great leaders. Let me first just note everything that is going on with the loss of Mr. Floyd, and more deeply the deep pain, not equal pain, but the deep pain that America is feeling right now. I attended the protests along Highland today, as well as another one along Bay Street, and they were both peaceful, and we are very thankful for that. But we have to remember, I think, two very important things. The first is that the peaceful protest is not an end in and of itself. Okay, we have to remember that. We can commend people for peacefully protesting, but if we do not hear their voice and act upon it in the legislative space, then the next time I think we should hear their voice is not at a peaceful protest, but at the ballot box. And so action is most definitely needed right now. Action certainly to ensure that no one in this country is ever murdered because of the color of their skin. No one is ever oppressed because of the color of their skin. But secondly, I think that we have to renew our focus on addressing every single issue with, in part, a focus on addressing significant racial disparities, whether it is housing, whether it is wealth creation, whether it is homelessness. It does not matter what it is. The legacies and realities of racial injustice pervade them, and we cannot afford to ignore them any longer. If we do not do both of those things, I do not believe that we are doing these protests justice. I sincerely believe that. You know, I as many of you just heard, my wife and I adopted a child 2.5 months ago, and today was the first event we've ever brought our child to. To tell you the truth, the kid was just kind of kept him. His name was Miles. Kept him in the house up until this point, and to me, that was, for this to be the first event that we brought him to was to me perfect. Perfect because today and every event, every protest that we have seen up to this point is about fulfilling this country's promise, building a country we all know is possible. And that's a world I want my son to grow up in, not the world that we see it today. So with that, I look forward to any questions, of course, you may have, but of course, I look forward to just hearing the rest of the dialogue. Thank you again for this opportunity.
So
Michelle, I'm sorry to cut in one more time. I believe we have Bobby Digi. I don't know his number, so I'm going to check to see if this is him, if he can respond if this is him. Mr. Bobby, are you there? Bobby, are you there? Bobby?
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Okay.
I've been here. I've been hearing all the great speakers, the passion in Diane's voice, Debbie Rose, Max Rose with the baby. Community, I thank you all for putting this together. I think there's not enough forum for us to really continue to organize and galvanize. I just want to say that there was a huge protest today organized by youth with some of us elders behind making sure that it was safe. This demonstration today indeed proved that things are coming to a head. It was the biggest in the borough, and it was truly impactful. You had to be in this march protest to really feel and see the shift. Our young folks, I can promise you, are definitely engaged. We talked about the census today. We talked about voting today. We talked about the importance of this being peaceful and not feeding into the rhetoric that was coming from the South Shore. I saw texts and threats from the South Shore, from people from the South Shore. This march could have gone any of which way, but I promise you, the young folks who were well aware of it conducted themselves in the highest level of dignity, dignified and integrity. And I'm very confident that we are in a position now to really translate, as Max said earlier on, from marching and protesting, not only to the ballot booth, to voting, but to also ensure that this census, the young folks are looking and hungry. They're hungry for how to get engaged. They want to be heard. They understand the power that they wield. And I promise you, I work with these kids. We sat with the chief of Chief Corey, and they are taking steps. So why am I saying all of this? I'm glad we have all you elected officials here. Charles, it was great that you gave them a platform to speak on. That's what we want all our elected officials to continue to do. We want you all to engage them. This has to be a hands and gloves. You know, Max, your office, I saw you there at the crowd with Kevin Elkins. You need to bring these kids into the White House with you. We need you to Debbie, we need them to be on the council testifying. Diane, Charles, we need them to go to Albany. We really need these young folks because they have the platform now. They have thousands of young people that we can channel their energy and really translate that. We've got to get Trump out of office. We've got to get Trump out of office, and everything has to connect. So everything that's building right now is not a waste. It's all a crescendo, and this is connected to 6 years ago with Eric Garner's situation. People were asking me a few days ago, what's the difference between now and 6 years ago, and what's the difference between what's happening in New York and Minneapolis? The country is tired. So we have got to stop talking at people, talking with people, working with people. So sisters, I'm really proud and I'm happy that I was asked to be involved with this. What am I doing about the census? I've gotten the African, it's called ACASI, the Staten African Leadership Alliance together. They're doing some stuff with the census. We've got a lot of the youth that are now really pushing the census because they can do it digitally on their phones. I got my kids working on it. We just got to keep plugging away. And because of COVID-19 that has exposed the disparity within our community, issues that we Black folks have been talking about for as long as I can remember have laid bare of recent. We need to seize the opportunity, the stats and the data support what we've been fighting and marching and advocating for. It's time that we take that data and use it to impact and inform policies. And the reason why I'm speaking with so much passion right now is because I am super inspired by what I saw today. That march could have gone any of which way. It was conducted in the most professional manner that you could imagine. So we adults got to get behind these youths. We got to empower them with the knowledge and experience that we have, but we got to stand back out of their way and just support them. Thank you.
We're looking forward to 121.
121.
Yeah, we need to get to that precinct 121.
Well, I hear you. We're at
It's
122 today. We were at 122 today, and I tell you something, man. Highland Boulevard, Max, you were there.
I know.
But Bobby, how do we manage the concern about it's like we're in two different worlds, right? We're demanding change, and rightfully so, and people are marching, and rightfully so. And then at the same time, we have this deadly disease that could just rear its ugly head again. I'm just trying to figure out how do we engage people without jeopardizing our health. It's very complicated.
It's a very good question. Here's my answer to that. There's a rhetoric. I'm going to give you one example. So there's a guy, the small business owner on the South Shore who had the tanning salon, right?
I know. Please don't talk to me about that idiot.
Hold on. It's because this matters. Those folks protested and rallied. Nobody was wearing a mask. So today's rally, the difference is not only did 99%, and Max was there, you can attest to that, they had masks on and social distance as best as possible was being practiced. My clinic also donated masks. Now, social justice, right now we have, this is a time and space. There's an election June 23rd. There's a presidential election coming up. We are continuing, even at these protests, that we are promoting and we're educating people as the importance of social distancing. So that, the short answer is that what we can do, remember, if you can't be 6 feet distance, a mask is what's asked to be utilized. So we've ensured that any rally that we're involved with, and like with Charles Paul, he had hands purified, sanitized. That's the best thing that we can do. We can't really, be honest with you, safely beyond those other measures I just mentioned. We can't do anything to lock people at home any longer than they already have. I hope that answered your question. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, Bobby. I said, I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to find out from all of you, how does voting tie into the census, COVID-19, and the legislative reform? And just, inform people of what happens when we don't vote.
So we go back. We talked earlier about what happens if people don't respond to the census and the risk to New York State. We already know that we're probably on track to lose minimally 1 congressional seat. If we are underrepresented in the census, we will lose 2 congressional seats. And which seats they would be is hard to predict. 4 years ago, the voters adopted what was called an independent redistricting commission. That means that the legislature will not be drawing the district lines this time. We can reject what's drawn, but we're not going to be doing it. So it's not going to be the Democrats or Republicans getting together and carving up congressional and state and local government seats so that we can protect incumbents. It will be an independent redistricting committee. So it's very hard to predict what that would look like. They're supposed to take into consideration voting rights laws. They're supposed to take into consideration contiguity of districts, not dividing congressional districts by highways and waterways, how to not draw districts to make it easier for incumbents. And so it's going to be a very different experience for redistricting. And that could be good or bad for New York. It's hard. I really couldn't tell you that right now. But some of that could be mitigated by more people filling out the census. The more people we count, the more resources we're entitled to, the more congressional seats we will have. And believe me, if Donald Trump gets reelected, we have 0 friends in the White House, okay? He's made that clear time and time again. So you have that issue. We are at the point now where we have more people registered to vote than we ever have had, either in New York City or New York State. And we have the lowest turnout that we've had since the 1950s. And I want you to think about that. In 1957, when Mayor Wagner was running for re-election, you had 2.5 million registered Democrats in the city of New York. 93% of them turned out to vote. In 2017, we had 4.5 million registered Democrats in the city of New York. 13% of them turned out to vote. Now, what does that say? I don't know. I think about this all the time. Is it that people don't care about government? They don't think it matters. They're disappointed. They're disconnected. I don't know. But I do know one thing. Less and less people are voting. And as a result of it, government is responding to the smallest number of people instead of the greatest number of people. And a lot of people are being left behind. And I don't need to tell you all that the likelihood is that you're left behind more than people who look like me get left behind. So we need to find a way to engage people and make them understand that registering is one thing, turning out is even more important. Census, voter turnout, not voter registration, voter actual turnout. It does matter. If you want to have a say, you got to show up and have a say. And even if you don't like who's on the ballot in front of you, write your own name in. I don't care. Just turn out and vote. That's the only way we're going to get better government. It's just my own rant. It just drives me crazy that less and less people vote. And it just seems to be getting smaller and smaller every year, in spite of all the money we spend. Debbie, I mean, do you have any, do you see the same thing I do?
Oh, absolutely. And you articulated it, on a great scale, very well. I find my frustration is that because people don't fill out the census, that certain funding streams are not there and the allocations are not enough to meet the need. I'll give you an example. The outcome of the census determines whether, about hospitals, about schools, about highways, about SNAP benefits, about Social Security. There's a whole plethora of issues. And I ran on a platform of overcrowding in our schools. And that's been something that I've worked really hard for. And when I go to the Department of Education, when we look at the budget in terms of 5-year plan, I need those numbers to bear out the need. I see the need. I see that my schools are overcrowded, that my students the student teacher ratio is above the recommended amount. I know that there's not enough specialized high schools in my district. So, but the funding is based on the numbers in the census. So it's not always easy to get the number of schools that we need. I've been really fortunate in that I've been able to get a number of schools since I've been in office, but they look at that in terms of all kinds of services that we have. We have a community development, association that talks about where the money for the block grant will go. And I often have a hard time getting people to even be in that group. And they determine where the money goes to the 5 poverty districts on Staten Island. And so it's very important that we not only fill out the census, but it's important that we vote. If we lose a congressional seat, we could be the district that loses the congressional seat. We are in jeopardy of that, and so it's all tied in. It's all tied in, and it's tied in into what we saw today. These young people are feeling empowered. They want change. They want more than to just be shouting about Black Lives Matter. It's now time to prove Black Lives Matter. And I think everybody on this call tonight, we have a responsibility that they can't be empty words. If you really believe that Black Lives Matter, you have to do 2 things. You have to vote and you have to fill out the census, or else you're not doing anything to help Black lives and to prove that Black Lives Matter. And so it's all intersectional. And if we don't get that, we're not going to be able to make a difference. And we can shout and scream in the street all you want. And then the issue is right now, it's about police brutality, and it's about the fact that, these injustices exist. But if you don't raise your voices in a way that will make a difference, this is all for naught. And the only reason we see the changes that all of a sudden, this isn't new. We haven't been talking about criminal justice reform. We haven't been talking about transparency and consequences for law enforcement. This isn't new. We've been talking about it for decades, for centuries. And it's only because we have not stopped. It's like we've had enough. And we truly mean we've had enough. But now we have to follow it up. And I want to say, I want to commend the young people for having the energy and the persistence, because all of us on here know that very few of us would have crossed the Mason-Dixon line today to go out there and confront those police face to face, or even the police I wasn't worried about, because there's been enough attention on them that they'd have to be crazy to do anything. But I was really worried about the people who live and work and support the stores and things in that community. And it's just because we are at this point where we're not backing off. We're focused, and we have to maintain that focus. And the only way to make this focus work is to hand. And when we have the conversation of Bobby said we need to get rid of the president. The president isn't the problem. He isn't the only issue. If anybody could be, and if we don't do anything about the Senate, we're in the position that we are. If we elected a Democrat and we keep the Senate that we have, they're going to be in the same position that Obama was in. And so we have to make this a national conversation. And everybody has to understand how important it is, and that they are hand in hand. And it's a conversation all the time, wherever we are, in our churches, our meetings, or whatever. We should not leave without having that conversation. I'm passionate. Because I'm not okay. And I want everybody to know I'm not okay. And I'm not going to be okay until this is taken care of. And I'm not going to let anybody conflate the issue for me. And I'm not going to let anybody change it. And that's what I want. And I'm proud to see that these kids are not letting that happen. I don't want to hear about all lives, because Black lives are the ones that's at stake now. And so we just have to stay focused and not get into the side conversations, because when you start getting into the side conversations, it gets watered down. And then the passion, because we've been down this road a whole lot of times before. When we say their names, we can't even say all of their names in the amount of time that they gave us. I wanted to say their names yesterday when I spoke at Charles's rally yesterday. I didn't have enough time to mention those, the number of people who have been impacted by the death by law enforcement. But you have to understand that all of this is tied together with, if you don't vote, you don't have any power, and nobody really cares. So I just want you all to know, and I'm telling you, my sisters, that it's okay not to be okay. I want us to recognize that we're not about this, and hopefully it will propel us to get something done about it. Thank you. I'm sorry. Not okay.
I just wanted to say, I know a council member that says this, and you can you hear it all the time. People pay attention to people that participate. And the council member says that, and it's so true. Congressman Rose, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Debbie mentioned that we're going to lose our congressional seat. Debbie, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. We got a lot. We got a lot of fight left. All right, Debbie, I'm not going anywhere.
I meant by redistricting, not because.
Miss Rose,
I meant by redistricting.
no.
They'll do what they did in, people don't realize there was a time, Max, when this congressional district was attached to Suffolk County, and it was once attached to Rockland County.
You could attach this congressional district to Kalamazoo. I'm not going anywhere.
All right.
If you look out for the people, as long as you look out for the people in your district, you're not going anywhere. That's real talk. Did you want to say something?
I just want to piggyback off. This is Bobby Digi again. I just want to piggyback off my sister Debbie Rose. Debbie, look, I don't know if everybody knows, with all of the personal pain that Debbie deals with, moving around, standing around in the rain, all of that. Listen, honestly, and we've got years all together fighting in the front line. I'm telling you, and I'm saying this, there is hope. There is hope.
Yes.
We got a lot of young folks that are woke. And y'all know I've been working with the youth for years, over 15, 18 years easily. I'm telling you, now is the moment. And I'm saying this, y'all.
They're ready.
I'm saying this because I was talking to the young folks. Y'all elected officials, let's really, 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 let's re-engage. I'm saying this because I'm sitting with these kids. Let's re-engage and let's get them engaged all the way June 23rd. November comes. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. It's a defining moment. I'm all in. I'm all in to go back with all my business. I'm all in to go back and work for every elected official, not only so that we can make sure we get the votes, but we got to get money into these youth. We got to get money to these kids. For real, we got to get money for these kids. We know that the job's down. It's very serious. And if we don't take it seriously, I'm afraid that this summer we're going to lose a lot of lives. And Debbie, because we've lost funding for summer youth programs, we have got to make sure that we have alternatives in place. I'm talking about immediate local right now, immediate local.
Bobby, in fact, I'm planning a meeting to deal with what we're going to do, sort of the post opening. We're having, as you know, New York City is going to open first phase Monday, but I'm looking at the longer term, and that we're fighting to get funding restored for SYEP and summer programming. But I'm also looking at all the other agencies where money can come. We're looking philanthropically, and we're going to make sure that young people, the energy that they have is not going to be wasted this summer with them not having any kind of structured, directed activities to be a part of. And that's, no, it won't be at the level, I cannot promise the level that we've seen it in the past, because as the senator said, we have a $12 billion with a billion dollar deficit, and we're not sure where those funds are going to come from. We only at best in New York City, we're up to like at least 8 billion in a deficit that we don't know where it's going to come from. And as you know, politically, the president has said that he's not really looking to help bail, our states out. So I will not be able to promise that we're going to be able to serve our young people at the level that we did last year, but I am promising that they will have some programming and some services. And and you're absolutely right. If we don't capture the energy now, it's positive, it's focused, and we really have to. I was out there Saturday with them, and Saturday it was very visceral, it was very raw. They hadn't had time to organize like they did for today, and I'm so proud of them. And even with that level, with the level of anger and angst on Saturday, they were phenomenal, and they got the word out. So I'm committed. And I'll follow up with you to talk about like when,
sign me
where,
up,
and
Debbie.
the house.
Let's get Debbie. Let's get SIEDC. Let's get the chambers. Let's get all these business communities.
Talk offline, Bobby. Digi.
I already have something planned. I'll talk to you so that I can make sure that it's totally inclusive and takes into consideration what you're thinking about.
Okay.
I will make sure that happens. And I just want to say, I don't know if everyone knows that I love my kids and I would be there for them. I can't march. I physically can't march, but I have been on the phone with Chief Corey every day about what's happening. Where are my kids? You need to keep my kids safe. And when I talk to him, it's about not only keeping my kids safe from people on the sidelines, but from officers who might not like what the kids are saying, because I think that they should not, no one should tell them to filter their thoughts, and as long as they do it non-violently. So I'm not able to march because, as many of you know, I had an amputation on my foot, but I am there. And whenever they need me, or any of you need me, you just call me.
Yeah, the love was definitely felt today, Debbie. And definitely these young folks, I sat in the room with them and Chief Corey. Believe me, if you speak to Chief Corey, he'll tell you he was very proud of them. They were. I mean, look at the advance reporting, and you know how that goes. They captured it exactly as it was, peaceful, organized. The kids were anti-violent, despite the texts and the emails that we were getting from the other side of the island. So you definitely got a group,
Thank you, Bobby. We're going to go to question. We're going to open it up to questions.
I see we've been joined by the future mayor.
Oh, he's here?
Yes, Eric Adams has joined us.
Our borough president from Brooklyn, all the way from the other side of the water, is here. We thank you for joining us. Heard that you're a big MSNBC, huh?
Yo, Eric, what's up? Bobby Digi here.
Bobby.
How you doing, Bobby?
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Good. Yourself? Always good to be around Deltas.
We were just speaking about the legislative reform that we would like to see going on, COVID-19, and also the census. But for you, I want to find out, as a retired captain of NYPD, what are your suggestions for policing our neighborhood?
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for inviting me, and really speaking to the Deltas on such an important issue, and particularly those of you out there on Staten Island. You have always done such progressive things on the ground. You're not afraid to roll up your sleeve and do the real work, and I really appreciate throughout the years coming out and doing things with you around education, around health, by so many different things. And I know she's out there on Facebook. I have a Delta up here in Borough Hall, and Tanya Cantlow. I'm pretty sure she's out there somewhere listening to you ladies right now as well. But let me say this, we've made a big mistake, and we really need to change the dialogue around the police reform that we're asking for, because you have to fight this on different levels. When we were having historically a problem in healthcare, we encourage bright young Blacks and Hispanics to become physicians. and healthcare professionals. When we were having a problem in education, our children weren't receiving the education they deserved. We encourage Black and brown people to become educators and professionals, open their own schools. The only profession we do not encourage people to reform and change and be a part of is law enforcement. When people go into law enforcement, we call them toms and sellouts. And, how could you go into that agency? I was told to go into policing when I was arrested and beat by cops, and when Randolph Evans was shot and killed. African-American activists came to me and 13 other Black men and told us that you're going to detour from your professional assignment. I was a computer programmer. They said you're going to detour from that, and you're going to go into policing, and you're going to fight from within. Now, it's cool if we say don't go into policing, but here's the problem. You go buy a loaf of bread, that tax that you pay is paying for that racist. We are actually paying for someone to abuse us, and we're telling our young people not to go into that assignment. I retired in 20 years. I bought 3 homes. I've traveled across the globe and put my son through American University at $54,000 a year with no student loan on a police officer's salary and pension. We need to change this dialogue and say the real reform is getting our young men and women who are intelligent, strong, and tell them you're going to go into the police department and you're going to change from within. If we want to stop Pat Lynch from being PBA president, you know how you do it? You get new police officers in there that can stop it and vote for who they want to lead them. The commanding officers should be persons of color in our community. Park Hill should have an African-American commanding officer in that area. We don't have them because we're telling them, don't join the police department. That has to stop. We need to recruit like hell. Those young, bright brothers and sisters in our churches, we need to tell them, join the police department with a mission. Those young brothers and sisters down the block in our community, deliver the paper, ex-Eagle Scouts. Now it's time for us to groom the type of police officers we want. So while we're fighting legislatively with some of the good things like folks like Diana is doing up in Albany, we need to also fight inside. That is how you stop abuse, not only outside yelling, but you fight it by being inside. 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement did it. The Guardians did it. Noble is doing it. But we need more young Black and brown people to be part of the industry and change that dialogue that they fed into us. Don't join it and stay on the outside. We can't live that way anymore.
Yeah. So we're going to open it up to questions from everyone that's online. If you could just place your question in the chat box.
And I also believe they have the option to unmute themselves if they're able to. If not, you can type your question in the chat area.
Thank you, Sorority.
Hi, this is Jackie Lepardo. I have a question for Councilwoman Debbie Rose and also for Bobby Digi. And first, let me just say greetings to everybody. It's good to see everybody here. Everybody's still safe and well. And my question is, if you have young people who have been out there protesting and maybe want to be joined in at the higher level of maybe helping to organize, not just showing up, do you have any information that you could share where they could go directly with the youth organization that's been kind of running things out here with these protests, and how can they get more involved on an organizing level or in working with some of the projects that you mentioned you have, Councilman Debbie Rose?
So thank you, Jackie. The young people that we saw out there, when I saw them out there Saturday, they were and they were just a bunch of young people who had had enough, and they wanted to make a difference. And so after Saturday, I know they got together and they are now more of a cohesive group. And I know that Bobby and Ronti and Kay are working sort of in the background with them to try to give them some guidance. But I'm I'm organizing to get a forum, a safe place for them to be able to talk and to organize and to actually put some of that energy into positive steps so that we can move the agenda along. So I'll be glad to give you that information, but I don't have a place like right now, because they're young people from all over the place, and they were able to coalesce and put together a phenomenal protest today like we've never seen on Staten Island. And they and it was their work. It was their work, and it came out of when Reverend Sharpton came on Saturday to have the protest rally at the site of Eric Garner's death. The young people felt left out. They felt that, you know, the organizers and other folks were given an opportunity to talk about their anger, their hurt, and their pain, and that they were not. And so they just got together and they just decided that they were going to protest. And that's how they on Saturday we wound up with them blocking Bay Street, you know, trying to get to the bridge to make a statement that they were going to be heard. And so we're now working. I'm going to work with other young brothers that I mentioned to try to give them a space where we can, you know, actually capture that energy and move forward.
So let me just piggybacking off of what the council member said. Yeah, it was during the Al Sharpton, the National Action Network protest that occurred at Eric Garner, and then we took it down to the 120. That was a fairly large number. What happened is after that, I went home. So Lieutenant Awad called me up and said, Bobby, we got a bunch of young brothers. They're out here. They're acting up, and this was going da-da-da-da. Unfortunately, I was on my way to Brooklyn to see my son Prince with Lori. And so I called up Ronci, who's a mentee of mine. And I said, bro, listen, please do me a solid, go back over there and just, there's some brothers there, you know, guide them. Everybody's frustrated, you know, just guide and lead them. And fortunately, he was like, bro, I got you. He went over there and was able to guide them. Now, that could have gotten ugly because there was some exchange that was going on between folks on the South Shore and so on and so forth. But they were able to manage it. Fast forward to 2 days ago, I think it was even yesterday, there was a near incident where there were white folks spitting on the protesters, one. There was another incident with a vehicle that was revving in front of the 122 and causing chaos and pandemonium. So these brothers have had to see the ugliness of protesting. So what happened was a meeting was set up with Chief Corey at Borough Hall. I was invited. Sharice was there. I didn't want to speak because these young brothers and sisters, two of them were mentees of ours from Island Voice. They had already had their act together. And all they needed was guidance from the elders to just, you know, show them how to manage and navigate through. And why am I taking the liberty to say this? They're young folks who know what they want to do, have aspirations and dreams. And what they wanted was guidance, not for us to tell them what to do, not for us to co-opt their ideas, but to give that village support. And thank God with Kay, like Debbie mentioned, Ronci, of course, I give Ronci a lot of credit because he took it hands-on. And Ronci's got experience in global kids and youth mentorship. So to answer your question, sister, is where are the spaces? So Island Voice has been doing youth empowerment for over 15 years. You've got Kelly Villar with Staten Island Urban Center. You've got the Deltas, who I know they've been doing all kinds of youth mentorship because we've come out to talk about a voluntary compliance in dealing with police officers. You got African Refuge. You got Mimi Graham with Empowerment Zone. We have a lot of our community-based organizations who, with little or no money, for years, just for love for our youth, and because we've been tired of seeing police brutality, people getting shot, people getting kneed on, we have been fighting in the front line, marching. What, you know, you all know, so I'm preaching to the choir. So what we can do, hand in glove with Debbie Rose and all the elected officials, we've got to work even closer together because budgets have been stripped. But I need the elected officials to really reach into these CBOs. Most of us, like right now with COVID-19, I have to shut up Canvas Institute. I have a brother who's calling me tomorrow who said, bro, marching is not my thing, but I want to do something else. Can I meet with you, please? I know you got Canvas. Can we do something? There's all forms of outlets that our youth want to take. We must be at the table because if we're not there, we're going to fail them, we're going to lose them, and we will see another situation that in the summer, if we don't get in the front line, all organizations forming Voltron, we are going to see a problem. I can tell you, I can feel it, I can tell you that. The energy is great right now, but it's going to be a matter of a couple of days before it dissipates. We have to stay with them, and they staying with us, and they're ready for that. This is what they said that I'm just echoing. So again, there are organizations over there. I'll put my number here, 718-288-2402. Canvas Institute is available as a meeting place. I know Debbie has a lot of resources. The borough hall and borough president is willing to open up his space as well. We got the parks we can use. Let's get to work, folks. Let's get to work.
Say your number again, please.
718-288-2402. My email is Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, @islandvoice.org. And I'm here. I got my business. We got the clinic in Park Hill right now that's open. My partners will looking to sponsor and support any organization that's looking to do something for our kids. I'm putting up dollars. I'm putting up our space. We got resources. I'm committing that right now.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Any other questions? Does anyone have any other questions? Because we're going to get ready to wrap up. No other questions? Okay, so what we're going to do is have each of you just give a closing statement, please. We thank you so much for coming and accepting our invitation to be a part of this conversation on census, COVID, and social justice and the community. And can we start with Debbie, Councilmember Rose?
Okay. Again, I just want to, I want to thank the Deltas for putting together this forum to allow for a dialogue about the pandemic, about the census, and about social justice. I would just want to leave you with just a couple of thoughts. You know, I want you to realize that we have the power if we don't get tired and get distracted. You know, there are a lot of voices out there, and they're trying to pull us in all different directions. And I just want us to stay focused, make sure that we don't allow the issues that are important to us to get conflated into all of the minutia and all of the other noise that's out there, that we are in a very different place in time right now. And, you know, this is when we need to seize the time. We need to seize the opportunity. We have to focus and channel the energies that our young people are out there. And like Bobby said, they're asking for direction, not asking us to do it. They're just saying, tell us, you know, give us some guidance and we'll do it, because they're sick and tired. It has long to get it done. And so I just want us to make sure that the message that we are saying is that we have to vote. We have to make sure that we control our destinies, and it's the way to do it, and that the census and the vote are one and the same. That if we don't get counted, if we don't have the resources to bring to our communities that have been under-resourced and not resourced, and continue to suffer gross disparities, if we don't do what we need to do other than yelling and shouting, if we don't take the action steps to make that happen, all of this is for naught. And we'll be standing on somebody's corner, adding another name to the list that's already too long. So I thank you for this forum. I think these conversations need to be ongoing, and as a result of this, I am going to I'm going to put together some forums where we can actually hear from the community, so that you feel that you know that there's a vehicle in place to help promote and project whatever your needs and issues are. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Savino?
Michelle, and I want to thank you and the Deltas for inviting me and the other electeds to participate in this. You know, it's not to reiterate all the things we've already said about the importance of the census and how important it is for people to not just register to vote, but actually turn out to vote. And the trends we've seen in recent years in voter participation are incredibly disappointing. You guys have heard that. And I think what's really, I think the good thing about the COVID-19, if there's anything good about a pandemic, is that it's forced people to kind of rethink about the way we communicate with each other, utilizing technology in a way that none of us thought about before. So, for instance, if your group had a meeting, you might actually get more people participating now through the WebEx because they don't have to go out somewhere. And I think we need to build on that. We can actually do organizing virtually in a way that physical organizing becomes complicated because people have so many demands pulling them in so many different directions. So I would encourage us to continue this trend and include people like myself and Charles and Max and Debbie in the monthly meetings if you do them, because there's no excuse if you're sitting in your house in your kitchen that you can't go to a meeting, right? I've actually participated more in civic engagement since the pandemic started than I did before. And I think that's something we've learned that we need to build on. And then for young people, we also have seen disparities in access to technology. And I think we're all trying to close that gap because not everybody has the technology they need to fully participate. And I think that's something, you know, Debbie and I and Charles can work on. Where are those gaps in access to either Wi-Fi, internet, technology, equipment, so that people can really participate fully in this new world of Zooming. What do we call this when you're on? Cisco WebEx. There's so many new processes, but we're meeting probably and having greater conversation and interaction than we would if we all showed up at a meeting somewhere. So again, thank you guys for inviting me. We have a lot of work to do, and wish us luck next week when we go back up to Albany and try and tackle some of these incredibly complicated, policies to bring greater transparency and greater trust between the police and the community. Because, Eric is right. We can't have a police department that people don't respect. And we can't have a police department that represents communities where people don't see themselves there in the future. So again, thank you everyone for putting this together, and I look forward to future engagement with all of you.
Thank you. Borough President Adams.
Thank you. Thank you. I really thanks so much for putting this together. My only regret is that I was not a woman to become a Delta. Other than that, thank you. Be safe, everyone.
Bobby, short and sweet.
Sweet. My Delta sisters, thank you. I commend you for all the work that you've been doing. I truly, really appreciate you all. I want to just say look, I'm here for the young folks. You know, I mean, I'm here for the young folks, and I think it's all about them. Let's please do everything we can for the young people. That's just my final plea. I thank everybody that was on here. Eric Adams, we got to talk. Diane, we got to talk. Debbie, thank you so much. Charles, what's up? Max Rose, what's up? Michelle, thank you so much. Peace and love.
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone that was on this.
I think Max Rose is still on, Sora Michelle.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought he said he had to leave.
No. It's Michelle Delta. Don't worry. I won't take up any more of your time. I love each and every one of you. Anything that I can do, no matter how small, during these incredibly trying times. COVID has not gone away, but that will not stop us for fighting for social justice as well. So I'm here. Anything I can do. And God bless you all.
And no, Debbie and Max are not married. They just have the same last name.
Well, for the record,
People always ask that.
We did have a little thing. We did.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Back in the day. Debbie, I love you.
I love you too.
Say thank you to everyone that came out. We really appreciate this. And as we said, we would love to continue this in the future. And I would like to thank the committee members that also helped put this together. Thank you, Sora Jenkins, for your technology behind the scenes. We appreciate you. Sora Karen, thank you for accepting this invitation. And we just want to leave this. We hold the power in our vote. We are the change that we want to see. Everyone stay healthy. Good night and have a great one.